So now it's time for us to have a comprehensive review of what happened from Nigeria up till the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Is that by God's grace they will be here next year to do it for them again.
Inshallah.
I must also commend whoever informed National Health Commission to sign on finance. I think they've done fantastically well.
Alhamdulillah.
So it was a very emotional thing for everybody.
Yeah.
And more importantly, the craft was solid, the landing was smooth and agile.
Yeah.
So I want to say that first and foremost. But beyond that, the Hajj 2023, wonderful experiences, challenges, experiences, but all in all, it was a very good experience.
Yeah.
You know, we also said it, and in one of your programs you said one time that these are new entrants. Most of the pilgrims that came, they are virtually new.
No.
Let me also tell you what happened in Jeddah yesterday. Perhaps some of them were seeing escalator for the first time, and they find it difficult even to mount on escalator.
No.
So we have to really see how we can help them out. So be at it may, I was going to conclude it was an exercise that worth the while. However, Hajj is emotional.
Yeah.
In whatever dimension, maybe perhaps because people like us have so many experiences, so it's not really meaningful. But for the first timer, sometimes they get it wrong. So because it's emotional, some things bound to happen. The airlifting this year is superb because National Commission deployed all resources to ensure that everybody was on the kingdom. What I mean is this: you see, they said that if you plan well, you have 5-star accommodation, 5-star feeding, and your pilgrims are not there, then it's going to be at a loss.
No.
And for the pilgrims, that means you've not done anything to them.
Of course.
So they deployed all resources. Actually, they had their aircraft made of 5 for the first time.
Yeah.
They chosen 5 air carriers, very unusual, unprecedented. Then they have 2 for the operators. But along the line, a lot of things came up that many people don't know. For instance, the Sudanese airspace was locked down because of the civil war, the ongoing there, and that made the journey more longer. Like when we are coming yesterday, I was watching the radar. We passed through Ethiopia, Kenya, Cameroon, and I think some part of Chad before we even got to Nigeria. And that means it's normally from Lagos to Saudi Arabia is 5 hours 20 minutes, and from Abuja to Saudi Arabia is 4 hours 20 minutes. But we ended up spending about 6 hours plus. So those also was a challenging moment for them. Nigerian air carriers at a point in time. And I also say that our issue in Nigeria is that we don't have the capability and the capacities in terms of aircraft matters. For instance, airplanes as good as it is and as wonderful as they want to work, they have a smaller bodied plane, which was a factor. I interviewed one of the EAs of Kwara State, for instance, Alhaji Abdul Salam. He said that there are about 4,000 pilgrims from Kwara
State.
And you are now giving us a carrier that only can take maximum of 250. How many trips that one we do? So that was a challenge too. But being at me on the airlifting, I want to give kudos to National Health Commission for doing their best. If I then also wait your appetite, I will tell Nigerians that on the last day of the flight out of Nigeria, 5 airplanes were stationed to carry Nigerians wherever they had to Saudi Arabia. But those 5 station carriers had to be cancelled at the last minute because they've now exhausted all Nigerian pilgrims that was to go to Saudi Arabia. The National Health Commission also did something wonderfully well. They sacrificed their staff for that outbound. One of the airlines said that for them to be positioned for the last flight out of Nigeria, they must have guaranteed at least 130 pilgrims on board or 130 personnel on board. So what National Commission did was he now made sure that all the staff in Nakon that was to go, they must stay behind. That will make that 130 pilgrims by all means. If not, it would not be guaranteed that the aircraft will come and pick 20 or 30 people. So the National Commission made sure that they sacrificed all their staff for that, and all of them came with that particular last flight. When they got to Jeddah, luckily I was at Commission National Headquarters. I think I sent one of the pictures then. It was celebration galore. Alhamdulillah. Praises that we made it. In fact, the National Commission even brought people that are not pilgrims. Once you show up at the airport and said you have your visa to go to Saudi Arabia, they carry them along. That kind of commitment at that moment was a deadly moment, but we achieved it. Let me also show that we are more informed about something happened between National Commission and the air carriers, for instance. Now, the authorities that control civil aviation in Saudi Arabia, they have a very strict rule. They cannot break the rules. And one of the rules is that once you have 30,000 pilgrims from any of the country, you must spread your inbound or outbound for 30 days. This is a law they cannot change. And for them to change it, to force it to be changed, that means you have to plan early enough. Like what Flynas benefited is a Saudi-based air carrier. So they knew the intricacies of all these things. So they started early enough. But our own carriers in Nigeria, they rely on funds. And the funds are not there, they cannot move. So by the time the pilgrims delay in payments, and the payments also delay from the National Commission or CBN, for instance, and all these processes, because all these processes are met in dollars, so it's not in naira value. Okay, so it makes it difficult for guests to get slots to come back on time or to go out on time. I think I want to say that it has been very wonderful in terms of airlifting. And inbound also is also very, as we are returning, it's also good. There's also a crisis in Medina. At a point in time, National Commission was informed late that they must fly out from Medina at the initial stage. Luckily for us, 98% of Nigerians we went to Medina. I went to Medina. I wish I would have even preferred to go to Medina later, but I went to Medina first, and they were out of Medina. So it was becoming a difficult thing for them to find out to get about it, and you cannot go with your load to the airport. So that's another crisis. But again, National Commission rose to the to the occasion and got it sorted out. The most important thing and the advantage is Zikr Azan can speak Arabic very well, and because of that, it gives Nigeria the impetus to argue things out easily with them, and that succeeded. So alhamdulillah, so far for the airlifting, it was a very successful trip, I must commend. Alhamdulillah.
So now, how about the challenges encountered there with regard to issue of feeding, which I know, of course, you might have passed through that particular challenges in terms of feeding, and also the tent accommodation in Muna?
Well, again, you see, I'm also informed more about that. The feeding arrangements as it done is between 3 tiers of operators. National Commission, for instance, the State Pilgrims Board, and the Saudi authorities. In Medina, which is the purview of National Commission, I must say to Nigerians, we were spoiled with food.
Alhamdulillah.
We ate and ate and ate. We had good of standard food feeding in Medina. And sometimes we ask ourselves, one of our great guys from Lagos, even like I mentioned in Chama, said, when he saw me, said National Commission spoiled us in Medina. They always want to be stealing food because we ate. We had exercise when we were leaving the room. Even the tea, everything they just bring. Can you imagine? They bring in so much tea bags, sugar, milk. If I took some to make Mecca, because I want to do the prophet will say, don't waste money, don't waste food. And Saudi Arabia people, they will not collect food from you when you are giving to them. They don't, because it's part of that system. They have enough. So we are spoiled in Medina in terms of feeding, and that's the purview of National Commission. But when you go to Mecca, it's a little bit different ball game, because the states are behind the feeding and accommodation arrangement in Saudi Arabia, in Mecca.
You mean the various states in Nigeria?
Yes, each state in Nigeria. They are the one behind.
That's the State Pilgrim Welfare Board.
Yes, or commission. They are the one behind Makkah matters, accommodation and feeding. In Medina, it's also accommodation and feeding for National Commission. And the accommodation we had was fantastic. It was just when they made a call for Dan, I see the haram in my front, and I would just walk in there and pray. Okay, and it's even far better than what some of the so-called private operators will provide in terms of accommodation. And I think we are only 4 in our rooms in Medina. But in Makkah, it's a different ball game. So, and some of the state pilgrims boards maybe I got something wrong. Okay, and mark you, let me also add that sometimes it's beyond them. Because most of the cooks or the caterers or the chefs are essentially Nigerians. The jobs are made for Nigerians, but the franchise kitchens they used. So in the process, there could some little bit misunderstanding.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, I think that was initial stage, and you should not expect where you have almost 95,000 pilgrims. In fact, there was a state particularly that was so excited by what they had in Mecca. I even commended National Commission. So some of these things are beyond what you understand. Now go to Mina. Yes, let me also add, Hajj every year is spiritual.
Yeah.
What it bring this year might not be what it bring next year. Mina was exceptionally difficult, and as Muslims again, we try to understand that this is one of the challenges we have in life.
Yeah.
I slept almost on the corridor. I don't care. It doesn't really matter. It's just a 2-3 days thing affair.
Yeah.
Okay, but it was not in the hands of the National Commission. It is in the hands of the Saudi authorities to do that. They provide you with accommodation and feeding in Mina tents and even Arafah.
Yeah.
And it is what they give to you, you will take.
Yeah.
Apparently, even when National Commission protested that it's not only about Nigeria, it affects other pilgrims.
Yes.
You see, classifications are there also, that this is not Arab tents, this is Arab tents and things like that. Those that classification also matters. But countries like Pakistan protested, Indonesia protested, Malaysia even protested, and other countries in Africa they protested.
Yeah.
Even I think Gambia or even they protested.
Yeah.
But that to say that it was a general phenomenon at that point in time.
It's not peculiar to Nigeria.
No, it wasn't peculiar about Nigerian pilgrims. But again, Nigerian pilgrims, everything's about now come.
No.
Because they are not really informed about the demarcation. Where does NACON stops, where it continues.
No.
Okay. Even the private operators will tell you it's about NACON.
No.
And some of the private operators are also corporates. Some of them brought their pilgrims to the Saudi Arabia, and without taking particular interests in the well-being of their pilgrims. Some of them go to agents. So when they are leaving Nigeria, they just dump them on one of big agents and say, okay, fine, handle them. When they get to Saudi Arabia, they've not paid for tents, they've not paid for any other thing. So they just crowd Nigerian tents with their pilgrims. So we have also such issues.
Yeah.
There are also infiltration. This was the first full Hajj in the last 3 years. And because it's the first full Hajj, it makes it difficult. Many people crowded. Even the Nigerians are living in Saudi Arabia, or non-Nigerians are living in Saudi Arabia, they are earning for that. They came and filtered the camps. And these are not in the purview of the National Commission to control. We can't go to Saudi Arabia is a foreign state.
No.
You can't go there and say you want to control the security there.
No.
So by and large, it's one of those things that let's assume this Hajj brought. It might be next year, it might be another thing. I don't know when people still remember the Hajj of meningitis in 1996.
No.
We were already going for Hajj that year before Saudi Arabia stopped Nigeria from further coming. Because the meningitis broke out somewhere in Kano or somewhere in the north, and that was the end of the story. So we turned to Hajj meningitis. I've covered so many Hajj events, and I know a series of things will happen. So Hajj is spiritual. So what happened in Minna should not be hyped beyond a normal thing.
No.
You see, some people complain they want to be using their statuses in Nigeria and say, a commissioner slept on the street, a governor slept on the street. May Allah help us. I think I can. Just me pause there.
Okay, to Alhamdulillah, we really appreciate this comprehensive overview of what had happened there in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and it's very, very okay that you are not a first timer there, and you are now giving us the first hand update here live in the studio. Don't forget, this is Assalam Peace Magazine Echoes of Hajj, a program that gives you update on the 2023 Hajj operations, where we bring you flight updates just like we did earlier on the program. And now that we have just few Nigerians left in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, hopefully between today and tomorrow, inshallah, Nigerians will be back at home. The deadline is supposed to be for 3rd August, right? Yes. 3rd August is the deadline for all pilgrims to leave the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And inshallah, NACON has given their words and assurance that Nigerians will all return back, reunite with their family, friends, and loved one, inshallah, before that time elapses. So I think in just few seconds, do you have any parting shots to wrap up?
I just want to thank you everybody for being listening to this program in the last 1 month or thereabout. Let's see what we can do. Let's see how it goes. Let's see my lap spare us. May Nigeria be better for everybody.
Amen.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala. That has been our guest, our correspondent in Saudi Arabia, who is now back home and live with us in the studio, Alhaji Abdul Salam Abdul Fattah. Thank you very much. May Allah reward you abundantly. And also to you, our listener, may Almighty Allah reward you abundantly. Until we come your way again, inshallah, we say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك